All right, hey, we're live Monday night, 7 o'clock. Back on the computer. It's been a long weekend, long couple weeks actually. If you can hear me okay, just make sure the mic's set up good. Give me a thumbs up. We're working on bringing John in here in just a minute. Let's get his mic hooked up. So let me work with him. I'll play our new Madrid video real quick that we just had recently. Look at that thing. Ooh, no,
yeah, baby! Hey everyone, we're here for our last event of the year in New Madrid, Missouri, the New Madrid Fall Festival. It's October, it's beautiful weather, it's low water, but the cool thing is it's in New Madrid and there's a lot of things going on in this small town. A lot of vendors set up. We've seen kids holding pythons, kangaroos, alligators, but it's fun. There's a ton of people down here on Main Street. It's shut off come 3 o'clock. The Main Street's set up for the boats. We have a giant weigh-in, big fish, big spectators. We got a lot in store for you.
You might want to see this is a nice one. Wow. Oh my, can you grab that? Look at that fish. Ooh, it's nice.
So today we had 49 teams, again, from over 12 states. We had anglers here all week long, fishing hard. Pre-fishing has been a little tough. Not a lot of ramps to put into pre-fish. We opened it up from Moore's Landing, New Madrid, and Crothersville, so you have 3 ramps to choose from. And like I said, the water is really, really low, but what that means is big fish. So I think we're gonna see, in my opinion, the biggest weigh-in we've ever seen in New Madrid.
Look at that. Look at that team right there. Team Western Secret Tackle. Maybe the back. 6104 big fish, 0.85. Give him a big round of applause. We got 2 over 100 now. There's 3 big fish. He's about to try to get into the point championship in Washington. This might be the minute. Hey, there's another one. There's one. Look at the flag.
Need the call. I was there.
Flag. 3 good fish.
Never fall.
Look at this team. Monster Island.
This is my legacy. This is my moment to rise. I was born to win.
Team out of hot seat. Just a few. Now we just get a big round of applause.
I was born to win.
Oh my! Look at that thing right there. There we go.
I'm going up levels. I climb to the top. Keep going and I never stop. I was born to
120.02. And second place, and big fish.
I was born to win.
134.19. And our first place team with 137.63. David Shipman, Phil King, $6,534.
To win. I was born to win.
All right. So I think John's having a little bit of technical difficulties. He's actually, I can't remember where he said he was at. He's traveling on a vacation. So I guess you can do that when you win the championship. So let's pull up a picture. from the weekend. How's everybody doing tonight? Let's see. There you go. John Jamison, Kevin Parks, $15,000. They also were our Anglers of the Year and had a great year. Okay, I think here John's on. Hold on just a second. Let's bring him on. Can you hear us, John?
I sure can, Alex.
Good. So where are you at right now?
So I'm at Greer's Ferry Lake in Arkansas. So when we left the tournament last weekend, I drove home Sunday and turned around and drove down here today, me and my wife.
Nice. So what I wonder, are you getting a little feedback?
I'm not getting any feedback.
Maybe it's just try that. How about now?
Clear on my end.
Okay. How's everybody in the chat? If it sounds good, let us know. I'm getting just a little feedback. Feedback when I talk. What about now?
Clear to me.
Clear to you? Still getting feedback, Cody? Why is there feedback? Let's see. How about now?
Perfectly clear on my end.
Test 1, 2.
Test, test.
Yeah, it's weird to talk about after I talk. A little less, he said. That better?
Good on my end.
Still a little. I wonder if it's... Yeah, 1, 2. Is that better?
I think so.
John sounds great. It's still a little bit on Alice. Lots of feedback. Let me try something. Let's open your phone. Let's send. You do sound good, John. Yeah. Okay. Can you hear us, John?
I sure can.
Okay. What about the chat? Okay, I muted John. What about now? How's it sound? All right, test 1, 2. It's perfect now. Fixed. All right. So when I bring John in, it makes a weird noise. I mute John, and we're good. John, I wonder, can you get out and get back in? Or do you have a speaker on?
I don't think so, but let me look.
Are you using a cell phone?
I'm using my cell phone because my I don't have much service down here.
Maybe if you just get out and get back in.
Okay, I'll do it. Be right back.
Okay, how does it sound now with John out? Must be something with his phone. Can everybody hear me good? Perfect. Interesting. So he might just have something going on, but while he's jumping back on, again, we had 22 teams down in Lake Ouachita, and I lost a few bets, actually quite a few bets. Probably waterlogged from this past weekend. So yeah, why don't you go over the placings real quick? Here, let's bring him in. Hold on a second. Okay, can you hear us?
I sure can.
I wonder why it would be other people.
Huh.
Maybe when I ask you a question, I'll mute.
All right, so first place obviously was Mr. Kevin Parks and John Jamison, and y'all had 29.3 pounds. Second place, I have to read it on my phone. Second place, JT and Justin Ray with 24.82. And then in third, Wallace, Natalie Meyer, and Nate Thornhill with 19.84. It's easier to get on the page.
Yeah. So, John, I guess what I'll kind of tell you that, we know that you've been there years ago. So kind of give us, because after this tournament, everybody thinks, wow, there's no blue cats there. It was tough fishing. Maybe kind of go in depth of your history at that lake. Tell us a little bit about, what you experienced, what the possibilities of that lake. What do you think the future if we had another tournament there? I guess kind of just talk a little about that.
Yeah, so the first time I was there was in 2011, and I went down there with a friend of mine, Corey Smith, that is one of the writers for In Fisherman magazine. We was there just trying to research it for a possible photo shoot in 2012, as well as filming a TV show with In Fisherman in 2012. So when we got down there, we was there, I believe, 2 days in 2011. So we kind of struggled right at first trying to find some fish. So about the first half a day, looked around, didn't get any bites. But that afternoon on the very first day in 2011, kind of late in the afternoon, I caught a 40-pound blue. We was dragging baits in about 55 foot of water. So they kind of gave me a clue where the fish was. Went back the next day, the second day, and I think the second day we caught 4 fish, all in the 40 to 50 pound range. So we left. That was the last week of October. We left, reported back to In-Fisherman. It's a good facility to film a show, good place to do a photo shoot. So we go back the following year in 2012. We're there that time about 2.5 days, I believe. And every single day we caught fish from 30 to the biggest fish being 72 pounds, on average catching about 5 a day. And actually in the show that we filmed, the biggest fish was caught that day and it weighed 72. But what a lot of people, and they was in the exact same spot where they was the year before. Same week, last week of October, no thermocline, and we'll touch on that here in a little bit. But I fully expected, based on that experience, that we was going to catch, 3 fish. You're probably going to need 150 pounds to be in there. Again, I didn't spend a lot of time there, hadn't been back for years, but it was pretty simple. And what a lot of people don't know that wasn't seen on the TV show we filmed is behind my boat, because part of the pro staff was there, walleye guys that drag baits all the time, similar to what we do. It's just a different species of fish. They was actually borrowing skipjack from me, dragging baits behind us where we was shooting it with the camera, catching fish behind us. So there was a lot of fish caught in the filming of that show while we was there. So I was totally surprised at how few blue cats was caught while we was down there. And again, I really think it had everything to do with the thermocline, but that's my opinion, I guess.
Yeah, that was a lot of people talked about the thermocline. It's been hot, real hot year, and really the weather hasn't changed. One thing I did notice is talking from JT that caught a channel cat over 15 pounds, Pete Moreland. I mean, I know of at least 4 boats during the few days before the tournament of the giant channel cats they've caught, and also a 38-pound channel cat is that lake record. So, I would love to see if the blues were biting. Obviously, the channels were biting, but they were still not on fire. What could that lake produce with the perfect conditions in a week or 2 weeks from now, or even this spring, with the amount of big channel cat and big blues? I think that there's a lot of potential there. So, I mean, I think we just kind of hit it wrong. You know what I mean? That cold snap came through. So, I like to go back and kind of see what's there. But I mean, I'm pretty impressed on even the channel cats caught pre-fishing. No, on tournament day, we didn't see anything over, obviously, that 10, 9, 8 for big fish. But I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's some big channel cats there, too. I mean, what's your thoughts on the channel cats?
We didn't fish very much for channel cat. When we was pre-fishing, we was trying to catch a big blue, because I knew there was big blues in that system. And finally, I think we got down there late Tuesday night. So we pre-fished Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So Wednesday, Thursday, and partway through the day on Friday, we was still concentrating on trying to catch big blue. So because it was a tournament situation, at that point, if you don't have anything, you just try to catch whatever you can. So we downsized and went after channel cat, did not spend much time on them. So we never caught any big channel, 5 to 10 pound channel pre-fishing. Found a spot that we knew held some fish and got off of it. But I think for no more time than we spent pre-fishing for channel cat, I think you're right. I think it's a pretty decent channel cat fishery as well under the right conditions, but I can't speak on that 100% because we didn't spend much time on that.
So I'm going to play just a quick little clip of 12 years ago of you catching some blues, just so people out there know there is actually blues in that lake. And then we'll kind of ask you a few more questions. So let's play just a little clip from that.
Ouachita is a legendary catfish lake. It kicks out lots of fish in the 30, 40, 50-pound class. I was fortunate to catch 50, and I'm aware the fisheries tells us that there's fish well over 100 pounds in this fishery. We're fishing in about 50 feet of water using skipjack herring cut bait. And what they have us doing is running some large flats that are in between some sunken timber fields. Man, this is pretty amazing. Just feel the sheer weight. I think the power part's coming still. Oh, Mother Mary. Look at this thing coming in. Holy smokes. In SeaWorld, they call that a orca, I think. You got me absolutely speechless here, John.
And it doesn't happen very often.
It does not happen very often. It's other than saltwater, this is by far and away the biggest fish I've ever caught. What's your preliminary estimation on weight right now?
This fish is right around the 50-pound mark. It's a nice fish, nice representative fish of Central Arkansas, Lake Ouachita, right here at Mountain Harbor. Beautiful place to fish. You know, if you guys want to catch fish like this, come to Arkansas. It is a beautiful, beautiful place. This is what awaits you at this lake.
Really got to thank Arkansas Parks and Tourism and Mountain Harbor Resort on Ouachita for bringing a bunch of Yankees down for this amazing, amazing fishing experience late fall after our deer hunting season is wrapped up and ice fishing is yet to begin. How does somebody get in touch with you down here? How does somebody...
So that kind of, I mean, that was back in 2011. And I guess also with that, I mean, give us a little bit, while we're going to talk about, you know, Angler of the Year, which is a big deal, you know, as it was a tough season, a lot of anglers from all over the country chasing it. But go ahead and maybe start from your start. How did you get into catfishing? What did you do before then? Was it an early age as a kid, or was it something that somebody took you out? So give us a little bit of spiel of how you got into chasing these big trophy cats.
So basically, my mom and dad was outdoorsmen. So from as long as I can remember at an early age, we was always fishing, hunting in the outdoors, pretty much basically every weekend. My dad really concentrated on multi-species. We fished everything from bass to crappie to channel cat to flatheads, kind of the whole gamut. And I really kind of got hooked on catfishing from an early age and just kind of continued that as I got older. You know, once I got older, then I started fishing for bigger fish, you know, and got into the blue cats and the bigger systems. You know, when I was young, we mainly concentrated on smaller bodies of water, smaller rivers, lakes, that kind of stuff. But as I got older, then I started fishing the Kansas River, the Missouri River, then the Mississippi River. So I've basically been doing it my whole life, and don't plan on quitting anytime soon.
Is there a spot that you haven't, like, that you have a bucket list? You know, I know you're a great angler on the Missouri and Mississippi. You know, you've traveled a lot over the years, especially with the TV show that you used to do. What would you say like your bucket list area is to go?
Well, I'd like to get on the James River at some point in time, and I'd also like to fish the lower Mississippi, which I think everybody does now. That was actually something that I was going to do prior to, you know, this year when it kind of came to light that there's a lot of fish down there. Probably those two areas, James River and the lower Mississippi.
What is your personal best blue cat?
I've caught 3 blues over 100 pounds, with the biggest one being 130.
Wow, that's a giant. I guess maybe tell us the stories of those 3 fish. We just have some people in chat that are kind of, you know, a lot of anglers, believe it or not, I mean, they look up to you and a lot of us. So there's a lot of people that are still you know, when they see what you guys do, traveling, becoming Angler of the Year, I mean, that's not something easy to do. So, I guess explain maybe like what it's taken to get to these big fish. You know, how, you know, is there certain techniques? Like, what's your favorite technique, you know, chasing these big blues?
Well, it always varies, time of year and what kind of body of water we're on. So all three blues over 100 pounds I caught have all came from the Missouri River. I prefer fishing running water over lakes, and actually my favorite body of water is the Missouri River. In my opinion, it's got more big fish in it. It's got fewer fish by quite a bit than what the Mississippi does, but the odds of catching that 100-pound fish, in my opinion, is stronger on the Missouri River. See a lot of them caught there every year. Just to kind of go into what I was doing when I caught those three fish. The first one I caught weighed like 101, caught him on anchor during the day off the tip of a dike. It was early spring. Believe I caught it on shad. Right downtown Kansas City, basically. Second fish I caught weighed 103, and I caught the 130 next. Caught that fish on anchor as well, and that was at nighttime on a sandbar. And before I went out that evening, I had netted. Of course, we went out and tried to net bait. One of the things I caught was just a common carp that weighed probably 5 to 6 pounds. I basically cut that fish in half, so I'm using the whole head and half the body. So it was a big bait, and had put it on a double hook rig, fishing a sandbar. We was basically in the middle of the river. It was the inside pole in about 5 feet of water. It was really shallow, which at nighttime I catch a lot of big fish. When I fished at night, caught a lot of big fish really shallow. Spreader baits out. That fish bit just shortly after dark. Took a lot of line, went down river, and anyway, he turned and came up river, and I fought him pretty much right under the boat. Got that fish in. The other fish I caught was on bumping, and caught that fish on skipjack and Missouri River again, just north of Kansas City a little ways. But my favorite way to fish is bumping, but I think if you want to get really serious and really concentrate on specifically catching a big fish, that's probably best done on anchor. Not that you can't, I've caught a lot of 70, 80, caught probably 5 fish in the 90s. And a lot of those fish are bumping, but I think that truly big fish, you're better served being on anchor if that's what you really want.
Yeah, that's true. Like I said, and it's funny you say that. We've been talking about that, you know, big fish. You know, the Mississippi River, it gets a lot of big fish, and it does. But if you look at even tournament results and people just fun fishing, one thing you notice, you know, from tournaments down to the Gulf to Alton, you know, I've been doing this 9 years, and I've only weighed 2 fish over 100 pounds. One of them was in September 5-6 years ago out of Columbia Bottoms. It was caught at the confluence, was 103. And then the one we just weighed this September that was caught up the Missouri River, 106. So, I mean, the 2 fish in 9 years pretty much came from that Missouri River. And a lot of people catch 100-pound fish on the Missouri. I don't know why that is. Do you have any thoughts of why the bigger fish are caught on the Missouri and not the Mississippi, but you catch much more on the Mississippi?
Yeah. You know, I don't know for sure, but part of it, I guess, is my opinion, would be on the Mississippi, there is a lot of fish, a lot of 20s, a lot of 30s, you know, even quite a few 40s and stuff. I think when you're there, a lot of times your bait's being picked up by that 15, 20, 30-pound fish before that big fish can get to it. That's probably not all of it, but I think that's part of it, the competition. On the Missouri, because there's fewer fish, if you get your bait in front of that big fish, he's probably going to eat it. But one of the other factors may be if you look, and I think about this quite a lot. If you look at the channel cat, for instance, southern waters, there's usually not a lot of big channel. Kind of setting aside Ouachita last weekend, if lake record was 38. But if you look at channel cat specifically, and central Nebraska, Iowa, the Red River, northern, it's like the farther north you go, the bigger the channel cat are, which may directly have something to do with water temperatures being colder. And I've got to wonder if those colder temps have something to do the same way with the blue cat. The Missouri River going farther north up into South Dakota, because the world record was held in South Dakota for years and years and years, below the dam there, but on the Missouri River. And it may have something to do with that. I hesitate to say that it would be something to do with genetics like there is in the bass world. The Florida strain of bass seems to have better genetics, that they're bigger. But as far as blue cats, because they have been documented to travel so far, they'll travel pretty much the length of the Mississippi and clear up the Missouri. I think that's pretty much the same genetic pool. It's got to have something to do with the conditions, weather conditions or water temp or something like that. Hard to put my finger on it, but that's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I know it's interesting. And like I said, each year we, with more people getting into the sport, we learn more and more, about the fish species, and it's been exciting. So another text I had come in is, you've been doing this for a while. You've been fishing tournaments for a long time. You've caught a lot of big fish. You already said that you like bumping. Give us a little bit of bait, what bait you prefer, maybe like the rundown of, you're going to go to Lake Ouachita and that you might need to take some frozen skipjack, or will you use frozen? Will you use fresh? Does it depend on the body of water? Kind of give us a little bit of rundown on your bait, how you catch it, preserve it, use it, etc.
Absolutely. So kind of the way I approach bait, it depends on time of year and water temp. Colder water temps, I'm a shad person. To me, the colder that water gets and starts dropping, especially once we get mid 60s and below, that's a shad bite, 100%. My feeling is the skipjack in warmer weather is the go-to bait. Shad when it's cooler. And I actually think because that skipjack's got so much oil in it, when it gets in that colder, cooler temperatures, it just doesn't release as much scent as it does in the summertime. 100% shad guy when it gets cold. Even when you got water temps in 32 degrees, 33 degrees, when it's right at freezing, shad, 100%. As far as preserving bait, everybody vacuum packs their skipjack. I do some of that. I actually prefer another method that a lot of guys don't know, but this came from some of the Southern boys. Is where I learned it. Phil King being one of them, David Coughlin. Borax, which is a laundry detergent. If you take borax, about a cup of it, and put it in about a gallon to 2 gallons of water. So what that actually does, borax has a lot of salt in it, which is a preservative, and which you can preserve food and stuff with. But if you mix that borax in your water, put your skipjack in a 2-gallon bag, Ziploc bag, put like a cup of that solution in it, the water and the borax. That water in there will allow you to push all the air out of it, so you have no air inside that bag at all, and then freeze it that way. that bait will come out fresher and the blood will be brighter red than any vacuum sealed skipjack. That's a big tip right there. As far as using frozen versus fresh, that's a big argument amongst a bunch of people. But my opinion is I've caught a lot of fish that on frozen bait fishing against some great anglers that's using fresh, because let's face it, us guys that live north don't always have the opportunity to get fresh bait like the southern guys do. Of course, we buy all of our bait now. So we have fresh, but if you don't have fresh and it's frozen, I would not hesitate to use it. The hardest thing or the best thing to do is if you get a good bait, be it frozen or fresh or whatever, in front of an active fish, he's going to eat it. He's not going to turn his nose up to it. So that's kind of my opinion between the fresh and frozen, and what we use in cold weather being shad versus skipjack.
Yeah, and there was actually some anglers this weekend that had a cooler / freezer that everybody seen on the dock. Because also a lot of us have freezers in our truck beds. So that's something that over the last 2 years, you see a lot of generators and freezers in the back of a truck hauling that frozen bait, because fresh bait's been hard to buy also, depending on where you're going, trusting that it's fresh, it was caught fresh. So we always take that frozen bait with us, but it's also a big freezer. So there's a company that has, and I'll have to make a post about it, but really I think it was like $300, and these guys had a cooler that you could plug in to an outlet or a cigarette lighter, and even had banana plugs for a battery. So that seemed to look pretty cool. They used it for the last 3 or 4 days, had success with it. And actually, I think they're going to buy some. So I'm going to look into that. I'll make a post of that brand and stuff, and I'm going to probably end up buying one too, just because then I can shut my truck bed. So did you get to see that?
I did, and it looked really interesting, and I'm kind of interested in one too. But the one question I asked the guy that owned it is it waterproof? Like last weekend it rained for 2 or 3 days, or is it at least water resistant? That would be one thing I would be interested in knowing, just because doing what we do, it's going to get wet at some point, and I think that's something that needs to be researched on it a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if theirs got wet. I'll have to kind of ask some guys that, but no, that's a cool product. There's a lot of unique products coming out specifically for catfish guys, catfish tournament anglers. You've been kind of developing products for probably 12, 15 plus years. So you've had your own kind of hand in some of that stuff. Is there anything that you would like to see in the coming years, or what do you expect? Anything new, in this sport as it's growing from, each year it's getting bigger and bigger with payouts and new anglers. What do you kind of foresee the future of the tournament sport of catfishing?
Well, Alex, I think it's going to continue to grow, thanks to people like you that's promoting tournaments the way that you do. You do a good job, by the way. So it seems like the whole country has became interested in catfishing, all sizes, catching big fish, little fish. It's finally catfish in general, be it channel cat, flathead, blue cat, are starting to get the recognition that they deserve. And, a lot of the people that deserve recognition over the years is going to be some of the older guides like James Patterson, even some of the media like In Fisherman. Doug Stange with In Fisherman has promoted catfishing for the last 25 years. So I think it's a combination of, everybody through the years making contributions and bringing to light that catfish in general should be right up there with bass and crappie and all them. It's a heck of a sport fish. As far as where we're heading, like you said, I think it's going to continue to just get bigger and bigger and bigger. I think it's going to take a little bit of time to get there, but we're finally to that point that is starting to grow. And as we grow, there's going to be more innovations, more products, more sharing between the anglers, and that will also help in, just growing the sport.
Yeah, that's true. And I had another actually, somebody wanted me to kind of talk about, you as the angler of the year. It's not easy, like with the Twisted Cat Outdoors Trail. You can't just be a blue cat guy or a Mississippi River guy. You have to be able to move and fish a lake or fish for channel cat or flathead, and I think that it's kind of like the bass anglers. You have some anglers that say, well, I don't want to fish a tournament if it's just channel cat, or I don't want to fish a tournament if it's just a lake. It's the bass world, kind of the same thing, where they have largemouth, smallmouth, and they have their own little different species. But I think, as our trail has expanded and grown more to a national level, you're starting to, have to go to Lake of the Ozarks or the lower Mississippi or the upper Mississippi and put something together. And I really believe that makes an angler really good when they can go to Muscatine, Iowa, Lake of the Ozarks, Cape Girardeau, and Ouachita and put something together. Because this tournament, this championship was unique because everybody had to kind of throw something at the wall and say, what's going on? They're supposed to be big blues here. I'm marking them, but I can't get them to bite. So you got to change a game plan and really figure out what to do. And I think, like, as much as I wanted to see all these big fish be caught, it was fun to see everybody, like, they got invited. They're all great anglers to hone in on. We got to go do some channel cat fishing. We got to go either drag shallow flats or fish the ledges or the trees. So, again, to be the angler of the year is something to be really proud of, to finish in the top. And I think that, like you said, you've been fishing channel cats and blue cats for a long time, and to see you guys, have the win this weekend, also cap off, because you were 4 points behind Mike, just a few points above Jason. So it came down to a tight race. And I don't know if you had planned on fishing the points, but you kind of ended up in it. So how did that go? Did you guys plan on fishing like the trail? You just had a good start and you thought, well, let's rock and roll?
So actually, the way we started out, first of all, I'll just touch on what you said about fishing different bodies of water. We, I think what shows a good catfish angler is you really need to know how to fish lakes, rivers, every body of water. You need to know how to fish for channel cat, flathead, blue cat, and I think that it just takes time and experience. And if people keep doing it, and the fastest way to learn that is fishing tournaments like your trail. Even if you're new and have not had a lot of experience, if you go out there, tournaments will teach you a lot of stuff really fast. It will show you that somewhere on that body of water, there's fish biting of some sort, be it small fish, big fish, or whatever. But put your time in, you'll catch fish that way. As far as when we started this year, Kevin and I don't think we intentionally decided that we're going to fish for points to try to get there. Part of the reason, first of all, I really like the way that you run your tournament trail. So that was one draw to come fish the tournaments. Secondly, the biggest draw, at least for me, I've been wanting, I love fishing the Mississippi River and the Missouri River, but your tournament trail historically always had tournaments at Cape Girardeau, New Madrid, up and down the Mississippi River, Alton. It was in prime areas that I wanted to fish. And Kevin and I talked about it, and that was the biggest draw. I think first tournament we fished was Truman Lake, which, by the way, was very cold, very bad weather, and we finished second there. But then we kind of rolled into fishing, Cape and New Madrid and all of those, and it just kind of everything fell in place. And after we got 2 or 3 wins under our belts, or fairly high places, we decided, well, we're just going to go ahead and fish it through and fish for the points.
Yeah, and that was awesome. Like I said, there was 10 tournaments. We took your best 4 to get to the championship, and then on top of that, it's the championship points plus your 4. So it really comes down to that. And we've had anglers at Lake of the Ozarks several years ago that were going in and had 3 or 4 points, and then they bombed, didn't even catch a fish, and then lost out on that. And like I said, it's fun watching everyone go out and chase, and the camaraderie back and forth. And that's really starting to grow. So I know, we got Lake of the Ozarks the first week, or actually the last weekend. It's December 30th, New Year's Eve weekend, which will be a good time. And then February 3rd, Grove, Oklahoma, Grand Lake of the Cherokees. And then March 2nd, back in Alton, Illinois. April is still, I should have that announced here soon. May, we're looking at Milford, first weekend of May. Then July, nothing in June. Then the first weekend of July will be in Perryville, Missouri, just north of Cape. And then first weekend of August 3rd is Muscatine, Iowa. September 21st is Burlington, Iowa. And then we're looking at New Madrid again, October 5th. Hopefully October 19th. And then either maybe the first weekend of November, the championship. So it's very similar, about 10 events, some new, spreading out, maybe still a Keystone Lake. So you're going to have a good amount of lakes, a good amount of rivers, but there's going to be a lot of chances for a lot of different anglers, especially even west, as really I've never been further than the Lake of the Ozarks until this year, branch into Keystone Lake. So I'm excited to get out west, and as we're continuing to grow and have a different championship, probably on a river this year, we'll see, but I won't say yet where it's at. So are you, what's your thoughts for 24?
Well, Kevin and I is planning on fishing your events next year. Probably won't fish them all, but we'll definitely be up and down the Mississippi River Valley and Milford and Keystone if you go back, Texoma if you go there. So we'll be at a big percentage of them. And, it's my opinion, you got to kind of pick a trail and stand behind those that you think's doing a good job. And, right now we're supporting Twisted Cats, and I don't see that changing in the future, but I think it's a good lineup. And again, just for everybody listening, I think even though, you got a lot of guys that say I'm a river fisherman, you got guys that say I'm a lake fisherman. If you want to be a true, well-rounded cat fisherman, you need to learn how to fish lakes, rivers, the whole thing. And like your lineup for 2024, that will help new anglers coming in to get to that level where you can fish really basically any body of water. And that's what I've always strived to do. And that Kevin's the same way. We make a good team and think alike. And, Kevin's pretty versatile. He can fish lakes and rivers and everything in between.
Yeah, because what they beat us by?
Like, I think 1.2.
Yeah, we were really wanting that third place plaque at Mississippi River Monsters, and then you guys weighed in just about a pound above us. So we still aren't too happy about that. But no, that's fun. And again, back on kind of what you touched on, is I have always said that, and I'm not taking away anything from any other angler in the country, but for whatever reason, the Midwest, the Mississippi River Valley, the Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, this area, and I might be missing some few, but when you take those anglers and you put them in like our Sea Arc Owners tournament down in Alabama, the top 20, and I think we went over that. I think 16 of them were from this upper area. And there is something to be said. If you take an angler that can fish the Missouri, the Mississippi, Illinois, Lake of the Ozarks, some of these other lakes west, there's something it does to you, and it makes you a really good angler. You kind of understand what those fish are doing on Lake of the Ozarks or Milford, and you can kind of put that together on the Mississippi and the Missouri, and they all have their features that kind of make them similar. And I truly believe, like you said, you can't just be a Mississippi River cat fisherman and go and run the Twisted Cat Trail in 24 and think you're going to do well, because there's a lot of people out there that can go to the Mississippi, go to the Missouri, go to Milford, and put it all together. And that's where you can start traveling and become dangerous everywhere. I really do believe that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, just like you said, you need to learn how to do everything, learn how to fish every body of water. That takes time, but that makes you a complete, full rounded fisherman. And also, I'd like to touch on one other thing with that. When you go to these tournaments, be it on a river, a lake, or wherever, conditions play a lot into what you should be doing. To give you an example, I fished a tournament. This has probably been 10 or 12 years ago on Lake of the Ozarks. We all know Lake of the Ozarks got a good body of blue cat, some decent fish in there, a lot of 20s, a lot of 30s. And I think I fished a tournament down there. We caught a 52 in that tournament. So there's some 50s and 60s in there. It's not like Wheeler or Wilson or anything like that with 70s, 80s, and 90s, or at least not many of them. But my point is, it's got a good base of fish in it. And this tournament we fished 10 or 12 years ago, there had been a really bad cold snap came through, and a massive shad kill, maybe the biggest shad kill that I've ever seen. You could see dead shad laying on the bottom of the lake for the first 2 or 3 feet. And I'm talking miles of it. So I pre-fished that. We could not get bit. So we went down there. It was early in the year. Went down there with the intentions of catching blue cat. And I think every person on every team that fished that tournament, that's what they went to fish for. I fished for 2 days. We never caught a blue cat. And my tournament partner wasn't there yet. I called him and I said, you need to bring the lightest poles you have, the small, 3-aught hooks. We're going to downsize because the blue cats, they have fed so much on these, the shad kill, we can't catch them. We didn't win that tournament. We finished second with 12 pounds. First place had 13 pounds. And I think third place had like 9 pounds. And I remember this tournament specifically because I had a couple different anglers come up and say, we came down here to fish blue cats. We're not going to downsize to catch a channel cat. Like, I'm not going to lower myself to that level. But in the end, you're down there to win that tournament. And to me, a good angler is going to adjust to the conditions. That's exactly what happened at Ouachita last weekend. I've seen it happen on Lake of the Ozarks. You can be on the Mississippi or the Missouri River. Last few years, we've had really stable weather or really stable river levels because it's been so dry. There's wet seasons coming, and I'm going to tell you, you can go out there and you can pre-fish and be on fish, and that river jumps to flood stage or coming out of its banks. You better know how to adjust, to change tactics, to sometimes just go catch a fish. So I think that's part of the thing that you're touching on as far as learning how to fish lakes and rivers and everything in between. You've got to learn how to fish conditions and when you have to change. And, again, I didn't want to fish for channel cat at Lake Ouachita, but that's what we had to do in order to catch fish because we couldn't catch them any other way.
Yeah, that's true. Colton says, I'm learning how to bump. Can you ask John what size hooks and bait he bumps with? So Colton's asking about your bumping, like what size bait, and you kind of talked about the baits you like, and you've used big bait to catch big fish. Along with that, I guess, and your favorite technique is bumping. So, as I love to bump myself. I guess some people see these tournaments and they Colton's from Oklahoma. So what I've heard and seen from some of these northern guys, or people that have seen, St. Louis and South, where it looks big, it's fast, give them some advice, I guess, and explain, it's not, once you go try it, I don't know many people that have said, man, I'm never going to go back to the lower Mississippi and chase these big blues. And it might take a few times, but once you put in the work, once you learn how to find that bottom, that's all I want to do now. I have water literally 30 yards behind me, but I want to go as far as I can, where I can get to that fast water, the lower Mississippi. I guess kind of touch on that a little. Oh, he said he's from Little Rock, but touch on that bumping and how you got into it, and maybe a little technique that, so it's not so scary for some of these people.
Yep. So it's like any techniques, just like riding a horse. If you put your time in, you can learn how to do it. So basically, I've pretty much been bumping or doing a form of it most of my life. I was raised, we waded a lot of the smaller rivers, one of them being the Meridazine, which is actually the Osage. It goes into Truman Reservoir, then into the Lake of the Ozarks, and comes out on the other end. It's the Osage, goes into the Missouri. But we used to wade shallow riffles, like a foot to 2 feet deep, maybe waist deep. And when we was wading those riffles, we would take old fiberglass rods with monofilament line, and we would walk the bait down those riffles underneath log jams and that kind of stuff. Same technique as bumping. So I guess I've been doing it for pretty much my whole life. We'd even use like split shot because they were small rivers, and sometimes we didn't even put any weight on it at all, just a big gob of minnows. But you learn how to move bait. Done that my whole life. But when you're first starting out, you want to go out on a body of water. I would suggest spot locking your boat or anchoring your boat and learn how to do it from a anchored position. You can control your bait better. You'll feel it better. Once you get that technique down and know what you're feeling, what you're trying to do, feeling that bait bump bottom and move it, that's when you want to start moving your boat or slipping your boat back with the current. So it's kind of baby steps. You'll just continue to learn. And I would stay away. I'd get out in the middle of the river in the sand to learn, so you're not dealing with brush and rocks and all kinds of debris. Because I think people get frustrated at first because they're hung up a lot. But as you grow and you get more experience with it, there's a lot of good anglers. We can walk bait through almost anything. Hunter Jones is one. Justin Neese is one. Kevin Parks is one now. You can walk a bait through more brush and timber than you could ever even imagine. A lot of times we're only losing a couple hooks a day, and it's just based on experience of getting out there and doing it. So start doing baby steps, keep practicing, and then continue to get into more, more rock, more brush, and just keep growing it that way.
Yeah, that's kind of became an addiction for a lot of people. Even John Berglund said bumping is an addiction once you figure it out. Nothing like having a giant blue try to rip the rod out of your hand. And that's true. And it's different than, when you're like, this weekend, I'm going to go down and fish the Missouri River, and it's going to be probably an anchor game. And, the last time I went fishing, I was bumping, and it's fun, but it's also a lot of work. You know what I mean? You can't eat a sandwich and cook on the grill and play on TikTok. You got to really be after it and control your boat. Unless you're just kind of drifting down, whatever. But if you really want to be good, knowing where you're going and keeping on the bottom and all that's, very important. So like I said, and one thing I've seen is a lot of people like going to the Mississippi right now, or even the Missouri. You know, you didn't really hear a lot of people bumping the Missouri River years ago, but now it seems like there's more and more people catching on. And it seems like the last few weeks has been really good for the Missouri.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, unfortunately I haven't been able to be on the Missouri for quite some time. Actually, the last time I was on the Missouri River was the St. Joe tournament, which was the first week of August, because we've been on the road fishing your tournaments and basically fishing everywhere except the Missouri River. But because of all the people that bumps anymore, a lot of these, you know, everybody knows to go fish outside bends and that kind of stuff. It's become harder and harder to win a tournament by just bumping. And so we've been switching it up a lot. We've been doing a lot more anchoring because a lot of people's gotten away from it. And, you know, you can only cover so much water in a day in a tournament. And if there's 100 boats and those boats are going to go to those outside bands over and over, and a lot of times we'll be sitting there on anchor or whatever we're doing, and you'll see one boat go down that bank, then another boat go down that bank, and another boat go down that bank. I think in order to win these tournaments, you better figure out how to change it up a little bit. Because if you're just only bumping, you could be behind another boat all day long. So got to learn how to do other stuff. And we're switching back to some old tactics because people's quit that and everybody's bumping. So and you'll see a combination. I'm not going to name names, but there's some really good anglers out there that's really hard to beat, that's done very well. They're not all just bumping all the time.
Yeah, I know some of the people you're talking about. It is a lot of people think that everybody's bumping all the time, but a lot of these big fish, like we talked earlier, come from anchor, come from maybe that even where you're anchored up and you're slow walking some baits. But one of my favorite tournaments this year was Muscatine, Iowa. And it was because the way it was in August, first weekend of August, but everybody was throwing different stuff at it. We had anglers dragging baits up the channel. We had people anchoring, drifting, dragging down the channel, anchored up on structure. 51 out of 53 boats caught a limit. It was a great weigh-in, but again, it's back to what's working for them, what's going to be the best technique. But, you know, everybody's starting to get well-rounded. And I think that's what's also making the tournaments harder it's not always the same top 10. You know, you're starting to see a lot of newer people. I mean, JT Ray has been new with Twisted Cat this year, and, you know, to come and get second place, he's had a good year. So I think you're starting to see a lot of that. Anglers, you know, travel, taking something they've learned here. Cody Lovell's another one, always thinking outside the box. He's a dang good angler too. And another guy from the West. When I say West, I'm saying West from the Mississippi River in Illinois where I'm at. But yeah, Team Main Lake said great stuff. So what was the other question I had for you? What was that question? Was it in there? If there's anybody that has any other questions, make sure you ask them in the chat.
Well, you talked about people being able to adapt like good anglers, and JT said he pre-fished one day in Washita and went and bought a new line, smaller leaders and smaller hooks.
Yeah, so JT, you know, goes there. I think he's about an hour and a half west or so. He went there, and, you know, his thought was the clear lake, clear water. And for those of you that weren't there, I mean, it was so clear in the morning when you're driving off and we're taking pictures. I can see your prop spin in the water. Awesome. It's that close or that clear. Do you think clear water, like you have to, you know, JT got different line. Do you think using color line makes those fish not bite? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it depends on what depth you're fishing in. So the main body of the lake, where we would, in a lot of reservoirs that we would fish, we're fishing shallow, 1, 2, 3 feet of water, and catching fish. And I think that cleared lake killed that shallow water bite in the main part of the lake. Now, when you got to the back of the coves and the back, clearing the back of the system, it was muddy enough that it wasn't that clear. But the vast majority of that lake was clear. So out there, I honestly think you need to be fishing 20 feet plus when you're in the main body of the lake. And I kind of we fished around JT a little bit. I know where he fished. A lot of that water was in that 20 to 25, 30 foot range. So I think he was deep enough that line color probably didn't matter. I think the biggest thing was downsizing baits. And, I don't know how he fished 100%. I know he's dragging baits, but I'm assuming, because there was another boat there, they was catching fish. I assume they was dragging smaller baits, because for dragging, Kevin and I, we never had one solid bite dragging, but we was fishing 8/0 hooks in big baits, specifically trying to catch that big fish. And that's actually what we done tournament day. We caught our fish early in the morning in the first 2.5 hours, and then we went, whether, at that time we didn't know if we had enough to win or not. We had fish in the box and decided we're just going to go fish for big fish. So 2/3 of that of your tournament, we fished deeper water, on average 25 to 30 foot, and some deeper, but specifically for big fish during that tournament. But I think like JT, again, I got off subject there a little bit. I think they was fishing smaller baits, dragging, and we probably could have caught fish doing that, but specifically trying to catch a big fish.
So do you change line, or did you change line coming down here? Since you were fishing deeper, you didn't. And I guess, or did you use braid or mono this weekend?
Used all braided line, and color for me, and basically for Kevin, I don't think it mattered. I had a couple reels that had like a neon green braided line on it, and I had one that had a yellow line on it. Kevin uses white braid all the time. We intentionally switch colors on our braids, so if you get a tangle, specifically when you're bumping, get 2 or 3 guys in a boat, and if you keep different colored lines on your reels, they're easier to untangle when you get that tangle, which will happen. So anyway, we fished basically at least 3 different colors of braid this weekend, and saw no difference in the bite on any of the colors.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, I never thought of that. I've tangled up sometimes, and it's, you have the same 80-pound Vermilion Red Power Pro, and that's tough. That really sucks to try to get that apart. That's interesting. That's something to take right there for sure.
Yeah, we could have used that at MRN.
Yeah, with the tangled
We got
mess
tangled
there.
a couple times, or I did.
Let's see. Trying to see what else. There was another question on here. Oh, I guess I got a question. So, did you hear about Donald Moore and Charlie Blair on Friday caught a fish? They say around 65 pounds. I did see a picture of it. And then I also talking to a few of the guides at Striper Guide. They had talked about a 60 that was caught. Somebody striper fishing or bass fishing or something like that. So that was just probably a luck bite, or do you think that the bite got worse with the rain or better with the rain from Thursday, Friday, Saturday? What's your thoughts on that?
As far as the rain, we didn't fish a whole lot for small fish prior, a little bit. So the day before the tournament, we did start fishing, just trying to catch a fish. So that day there was no rain. We caught 4 or 5 fish, and 15, 20 minutes once we got in the right area. There was wind blowing in. Of course, tournament day, it rained all day. We didn't see much difference between the bite from the day before on small fish versus the rain. I would venture to guess the rain and the cloudy overcast on Saturday probably actually helped the bite a little bit, but I can't say that 100% because we didn't chase little fish very much at all until we basically threw in the towel and said, we just got to go catch a fish.
So I have a question, John. You and Kevin fish a lot together. How long have y'all been partners, and like how well do you guys work together? What works with you guys? Because you see a lot of teams don't always have the same partners, and y'all are one of the few teams that stick together and stay together.
Yep, absolutely. So Kevin and I haven't fished together very long. So this was our first full year of tournament fishing together. Last year we fun fished together a lot. I mean, Kevin's retired. We live about an hour apart, and I'm able to really go fishing whenever I want to go. So starting last year, we was fun fishing together probably 4 days a week. And, actually this whole year, but we decided we would tournament fish together for a couple reasons. My partner prior to Kevin, and he still is my partner, is Justin Neese, but Justin's got obligations with his family. His daughter's young at that age where he's got to spend more time with her. Kevin's partner passed away last year, so it kind of just fit for me and him to fish together all the time because, like I said, we was fun fishing together to begin with, and then when Kevin's partner passed and Justin can't make the time to go very often, it just threw me and Kevin together, and we're a very good fit. We both think alike in the boat, and I fish with a lot of different people over the years, and maybe we ought to touch on that just a little bit as far as a tournament member or a team member. If there's chaos in the boat or not getting along in the boat, need to find somebody else to fish with. When you think alike with your partner, when you fish the same, things flow easy. I've got 100% confidence if Kevin went out and pre-fished and I was unable to, just go run the boat and do it. I know he'd be on, he'd make the right decisions. I think he feels the same way with me. So getting along with somebody in that boat and staying with the same tournament partner. I've only had like 3 tournament partners over the last span of 20 years. You got to have the right person in the boat, and Kevin and I continue to plan to fish together next year and hopefully for many years to come.
That's awesome. You guys are a good team.
Yeah, great team, especially that you're both retired. You know what I mean? But that's something I've always talked about for a long time is, partners are a big deal. Everything's got to work together from, that first time you're talking about, hey, we're going to go fish Lake of the Ozarks in December. Whose boat you're going to use, whose truck you're going to use, are you going to stay in this hotel, even from fuel and food. So like one thing that me and my partner years ago, Seth McAllister, we learned just for the simple thing of cost of fuel and all that stuff or hotel is, we would just text each other. So we would leave and it didn't matter who bought gas. I would buy gas and I would just text and I'd put, Alex $113, and then he bought food or went to the grocery store. So at the end of the time, we knew what I bought, what Seth bought, because there's so many things that I have noticed as a tournament director. People, if you're out there fishing and you're mad because your partner didn't pay for anything, that's not going to work. If you're out there and you're fighting about this or that or stuff back home or whatever, number one, you got to have fun, but then you also got to take care of business and make sure you're up front with your partner, if who's the captain or however. But by far the best anglers that are the ones that stick together, and have that constant partner. It's one thing to go and have fun and fish a few tournaments, but if you want to get serious, finding a partner that you can be all in with and have that relationship with is a big deal. And it's not easy to find, for sure. But there are a lot of anglers out there, a lot of teams out there that have been good for a long time because they've stayed together for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't really say that enough. If there is any kind of issue in the boat on making decisions, be it who paid for what, or just where you're going to fish or how you're going to fish, because there's so many different techniques, you've already lost that tournament before you've ever got started. And that's the good thing with Kevin and I. We think alike, we fish alike, and basically kind of what we do. If it's a lake tournament, we take Kevin's boat. If it's a river boat or river tournament, we take my boat. And we're kind of to the point now, there's not even any discussion over it. It just works that way for us. And bottom line is strive to get a good team member that you work well with. And even like Kevin and I, once in a while we'll throw a third person in a boat. That third person being in the boat throws you off a little bit, not knocking the other people we fish with, but Kevin knows what I'm going to do and I know what he's going to do, and half the time we ain't even talking. We're just going, and Kevin don't talk a lot anyway. We're just going out there and fishing. We know what to do without communicating a lot.
Yeah, and that's important. I mean, I don't fish with many people, especially in tournaments. But you have that jive where you catch a fish, that somebody gets the net or how. I mean, working together from even loading and unloading the boat. I mean, all those things, come together, and that's a big key. Look at Stout and Jones. You and Parks, and there's a lot of great anglers out there that have been teammates for a long time, and it really makes sense. And when I see you two roll up in the parking lot at a tournament they got to fish against, I know I got some serious competition, so I got to make sure, if Liz is with me, that she's not talking the whole time. We can focus on fishing.
Well, here's my advice, Alex. Go fish with Charlie Blair. How's that?
And I love Charles. And like I said, you never would think that me and Charles could be good teammates, but I can calm him down. He just
level him out.
I level Charlie out, and I don't know how, because to level Charlie out's not easy. I only know a few people. Donald Moore. Actually, it takes Donald and his dad to level Charlie out. It takes Brian and Coy to level Charlie out. Usually I can do it solo. And it's a tough feat, but he's a good angler, and we do jive together on a lot of things, from putting the boat in, and all that means a lot when you put all that stuff together. But that is funny. So Chris says you have to click and have the confidence, thinking alike and not having to second guess makes a big difference. Chris White. So 100%. Like I said, it's as the sport grows, it's different than bass fishing. A lot of the bass anglers are solo, fishing by themselves. I can only imagine Charles fishing by himself too. He'd be talking to himself all day. But yeah, so I don't know. This sport's growing fast. It's exciting. Here's Kevin. Actually, he did really good in Alton, and he's trying to get up. He said, if you're sleeping on the couch tonight, with that comment. No, it's like I said, it's been a long, fun, crazy 9 years, and the growth of everything from the new anglers. I remember my first tournament I always talk about, March 9 years ago. I left. I was a hair late, which I'm never late. I promise. I'm never late to anything. But I was late, and I was just in a Chevy Tahoe with a notebook and a bathroom scale. And those people, I mean, Justin Neese was there. I think it was 45 boats at Columbia Bottoms. And the few tournaments after that, probably for the next 2 years, I could say, well, these are the top 5. Like if I had to put money on it, I can tell you the top 5 for sure the top 10. And I was worried because at that point, I was late 20s. I was the youngest person there. And I was like, is this sport going to grow? Is it just of these older guys that are doing it? How do we get new people in? And now finally, I think you agree, is now we're starting to need a lot younger, newer people in, which is going to really help grow the sport. And obviously they got to fish against guys like you that are, winning Angler of the Year and stuff like that. You and Kevin, but do you notice that over the last few years that you're starting to see a lot newer, younger generation kind of get involved?
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And again, I think it's got everything to do with tournament trails like yourself, Twisted Cats, and just the media in general. And, Facebook's helped it grow. When I started catfishing wasn't cool. Nobody was doing it, just a handful of people. But now it's become a trend, and you're seeing younger people wanting to really get into it. And I think part of what's driving that too is the opportunity to catch a big fish. I think that's what's so appealing even to the younger generation, like Twisted Cats after the tournaments. You're posting all the pictures of the fish caught. And when we're up and down the Mississippi River Valley or wherever we may be that's got a good blue cat base, people in general is seeing that on Facebook, and they're like, wow, look at the size of those fish. I want to catch one. And I think just really everything, the media and everything you're doing is just bringing the younger crowd in, which is awesome. It will continue to grow the sport. But along with that, like I've always had conversations with in fishermen and lund boats and everybody, there needs to be conservation go hand in hand with the growing of this sport, because if the fish are not taken care of properly, then we got an issue in the future. And I don't want it to ever be like the bass crowd, not knocking the bass fishermen any way at all, but I enjoy eating catfish. So it is a harvestable fish that you can catch, you can take home, you can eat. Do it in a conservative manner, and the whole sport will continue to grow. But conservation, again, is a big part of what needs to be on everybody's mind as we move forward and this sport grows. And I do want to mention one more thing. I see so many times on Facebook, a younger angler will catch a big fish. Probably, it might be his PB, but it's somebody that's just getting in the sport. They take that fish home, they got it on a stringer, they're taking pictures, and a lot of the guys will kind of jump on them on Facebook. You killed that fish or whatever. You got to remember that's that person's first big fish. They're proud of it. That's not always the case, but a lot of times it is. And catfish historically has been a food base, and you don't always know if people need if you go, when I was young, whatever we killed or caught, we took it home and ate it, because my mom and dad, we didn't have a lot of money. We didn't grow up poor, but I guess what I'm trying to say is catfish is a harvestable fish, but we need to keep conservation in mind at all times and be respectful for those that are just getting in to this sport and are proud of what they caught. They take it home. It's their fish. So that may cause all kinds of discussion, but I think it's something that needs to be talked about a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. My very first fish, how I got in the sport, we caught a 50-pound fish. First time I went out blue cat fishing, just a guy, from work, took me out. And then I went a week later in my pontoon, bought some Pin 309s and some Eagle Claw rods down at Bass Pro. And I remember, I think the first big fish I caught by myself was probably 30, 35 pounds. I still have the picture of it. And I held it I took my sock off and held it and caught that fish and put it on the floor, drove across the river to my house. I think had Liz come down, take a picture. The fish was probably out of the water for a while, but that fish probably is what got me really hooked in the sport. I put the fish back. It swam away a little rough, but you start somewhere, you learn conservation, and each time, I don't ever, number one, especially if it's legal, it's not against the law what they're doing. You can't really blow them up. And obviously I'm all about conservation. I don't keep any fish because I don't have the time to clean them or whatever. I know Nooner likes to cook some fish. He keeps a lot of those little ones, but I think as the sport grows, more and more people are getting conservation, number one, and understanding that we want to keep those big fish. But it's definitely, it's something that we're going to really start working on, especially with the commercial fishing, taking fish to pay lakes. That's one thing that I'm truly against is I don't like them taking a bunch of big fish from the Missouri or the Mississippi and taking them to a pay lake where they're going to die in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? But as the sport grows and as the tournaments continue to get bigger and more outside people look into our sport, that is when I think conservation will become higher on the level where people will start changing it. Tournaments are where people, like you talked about on the outside, they see the media, they see you guys with that 100-pound fish that you caught out of the river, then they want to do it. And it continues to grow and grow, just like what the bass world does. So I think we just keep after it. We got a lot of good people in the sport, a lot of new people coming in the sport, and a lot of big companies that are now supporting us. And that's what's really turning it on. So you're right. Everybody, makes some mistakes here and there. And I always remember that one fish that probably didn't make it, but you live and learn, and you got to start somewhere.
Yep, absolutely. And, I think we're headed down the right path, and it's going to just continue to grow with everybody's efforts. And it's a great sport to be involved with.
Yeah. So really gosh, we've been on here a long time. I want to personally, at some point, I would love to go out with you and Kevin, not in a tournament, just a fun fishing time. I don't want to touch a rod, just spending some time with you two that have been in this sport for a long time, learning stuff and, from what you've seen in the beginning. Because you guys are kind of like the Hall of Famers of, a lot of people look up to you, and it's hard to, I'm sure you know that, but there's a lot of messages that I get from going live and doing these videos. I mean, there's a lot of people on here tonight will continue getting messages and questions. Like Kevin was a new guy he's asking some stuff. He never thought he'd be fishing the Alton Classic, weighing his personal best during a tournament. Now he's hooked. So as these anglers, continue to get in the sport, I'd love to come spend some time with you guys. And again, our hats off to the incredible year you've had, the incredible career you and Kevin both also have, but to not only win the championship in a tough fishery with, everything changing, also becoming the Anglers of the Year, which is an awesome deal, winning a bunch of money, some big trophies to hold up, and then now you're on vacation. So, and thank you so much to take some time out tonight and spend some time on our Monday Night Live. We appreciate that. I know Kevin didn't want to jump on, and he's a little quiet sometimes in the limelight, but yeah, thanks. I really do appreciate it, John.
Well, I appreciate it as well, and you're welcome in the boat with Kevin and I anytime we need to make that happen this coming year. And I am blessed with a great partner, actually two great partners, Justin Neese and Kevin Parks. good people.
Yeah, I'm not, and I don't forget about Justin at all. Justin always calls me every once in a while. He says, "Man, I got to miss that tournament again. I got to fly to Germany," or a lot of things he's doing with his job and the young family and stuff. But I love talking and catching up with him on the phone too. And yeah, you're lucky to have two good partners and be retired and get to go fish. So hopefully I'll see you soon. Maybe here in the off season before Lake of the Ozarks, we can get out and do a little fishing trip. But again, congratulations. It was an awesome year. I'm sure we'll see you in 2024. I guess my last question is, if you had to say, Alex, I want to see Twisted Cat in this spot, where would you like to see a tournament?
Missouri River, about anywhere on the Missouri River, from St. Joe to the mouth. Just pick a spot. We will be there.
I figured you were going to say that. We didn't get to go on the Missouri River this year. Alton's kind of the Missouri. It's kind of the confluence down there, but we're working on something. So like I said, it's going to be 2024 is going to a little bit different than we've been in the past. So I'm excited about it. And one other thing, everybody that's watching, registration, I was wrong. I can't get it all up quite fast enough. So we're going to open up registration next Monday, November 6th. I think that's right. Yeah. So Monday night, 6 p.m. next Monday, registration will open. You can go on twistedcatoutdoors.com. Everything will be updated there. 2024 points, 2024 rules, all the registration. And then at 7:00, we'll go live and kind of go over registration and everything for 2024. And as we continue getting stuff out the rest of the week. So, and I hope to go live this weekend on the Missouri River as we're doing some fishing, kind of talk about some of the products, talk about what we got coming up for 2024 as we're learning every day, some new venues and stuff like that. And then soon we'll be kicking off 2024 at Lake of the Ozarks. So next Monday night, 6 p.m., November 6th, will be registration will open for all the tournaments that we have updated, and everything else will be on the website. If you have any questions anytime, feel free to reach out. And again, thanks everyone for an amazing season of 2023, our 9th Twisted Cat Outdoors season. And then John and Kevin and everybody else that came to the championship, great job. And you got anything else to add, John?
Nope. Other than I appreciate all your efforts and Liz's efforts and your whole staff, and we look forward to fishing 2024 with you.
All right. Well, thanks, John. I appreciate it. You have a good rest of your vacation, and we'll hook up here this fall and do some fishing. All right. We'll see you, John. Thanks for being on.
Good night. Good night.
All right. So that was John Jamison, championship, first place, $15,000, him and Kevin Parks, and Anglers of the Year. They won a set of power pulls. Jason Hamilton came in second with a $500 check. So 2023 season is technically over, even though that we still have the 2024 season starts in December. Really not a lot changes. Entry fee is going to be the same, $300, 100% payback. Points will be pretty much the same. We're going to do the 4 points, the 4 tournaments, your best 4 to get into the championship. We're just finishing up some of these events, but next Monday registration opens. Also, we'll do 100 boat cap. We didn't hit the 75 boat cap. It came close a few times. We're going to up it to 100 as we go into some of these areas, and it's growing. And then any questions you guys have, anything you'd like to ask or any notes or suggestions, feel free to call us, shoot us a message, email, anything on the website. We have a little about or notes section on the website. I'm not sure if I'm making December 30th. We're taking a trip the weekend before. Rusty, cancel that trip. Chris says see you in December. So yeah, so Kevin, stay twisted. I got to carve pumpkins with the family. I'll rewatch a few minutes for real. Thanks, Rodney. Looking forward to fishing your trail next year. So thanks everybody for watching tonight. It's been a long show. I still got to do some stuff. Haven't even cleaned the buckets and all that from this weekend. It was about 11-hour total drive, I think. We're super, super stoked for 2024. And again, if you have any questions at all, if you're new, you're watching, you want to be a part of it, don't be scared. Give me a call. We'll talk about it. Really excited for next year. Anything else you got to add?
That's it.
That's it. She said that's it.
Kevin wants a stay twisted.
Stay twisted. So thanks for watching Monday Night Live. We'll be live next weekend. We'll announce that guest. And then anybody wants to be on, come on with it. Again, this Saturday, I plan on going to the Missouri River to help with the Missouri Catfish Classic, part of Craig Norris's event that he's put on. It's the whole Missouri River stretch. We're going to do Klondike, I think I'm going to fish the tournament. Maybe me and Wallace are going to weigh the fish, and it's going to be a fun event. Weather looks good, so come hang out. If you have any questions about that event, shoot us a message. Get with Craig. Side bet for sure, Rusty. Although I lost a lot of money this past weekend. Just ask Joe Lunsford and Mike Keel and Glenn. A lot of money. But yeah, I'll do a side bet for sure. How about steak dinner after the tournament? Think about it. Let me know. And it's not smallest fish. It's the biggest three, Rusty, just so you know. Can't wait to see your boat, though. Cheap steak dinner. Okay. You can pick. How about that? So, yeah, Klondike this Saturday. We'll be there. Hopefully go live on the boat during the tournament. Have some fun if you guys want to jump on YouTube and Facebook. Again, thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your week. And stay twisted, I guess, is the new slogan for now.
Stay twisted.
All right.
No excuses.
No excuses for sure. Leave them on the water. All right. We'll see y'all.